Good morning. You see the question mark on my opening slide, making the impossible possible. That is not a typo. Now, the reason that question mark is there is because the question mark really helps to express how myself, other senior leader colleagues at my school, teachers and staff, that's how we feel about the work that we do every day. Now, we're located in a rather famous corner of South London in Brixton. You might have heard of it. And that's a place where some very ordinary people, and I'm talking about the adults in our school community, they make extraordinary and unexpected things happen every single day for the 900 or more 11 to 18-year-olds who come to our school. But those same people, they're really quite humble and quite modest about their achievements. And the reason for that is because the reality of what we do, it comes with significant challenge, and it forces us as a school community to constantly question whether collectively, whether individually, we're doing enough to make sure that every single one of the children that comes to us is on a pathway equipped to lead a successful life. Take a look at some numbers. Now, I can see as those go up, the data people amongst you here, you're sitting there feeling very clever and you think you know what those numbers are about. Well, you're wrong. What those numbers do is they're nothing to do with our Key Stage 3, GCSE or A-level outcomes. What those numbers do is they profile our school community. 50% of our Year 7 children arrive at our school level 1 to 3. 56% of our students, they are EAL students. They come to us with no English at all, often in Year 9, 10, or even in Year 11. 60% of our students eligible for free school meals should be much higher. We're having a big drive to make sure that parents who are too proud, parents who just don't make the effort, we need to make sure our children get what they need. 73% of our students pupil premium, and those other two numbers, top 10, our school situated in the Cold Harbour ward of Lambeth. It's in the top 10 most deprived wards in England and Wales. Second highest, well, a while ago there was a survey done, and Lambeth, where our school sits, was rated the second least peaceful place to live in the UK. Looking at those figures, anyone might say, leadership looks like an impossible task there. Why on earth would anyone do it? Well, that's because there's a real appetite for success in our community. And while some of our families, some of our children grow up in homes where people have perhaps chosen less legitimate ways to reach their dreams, they really are some of the most aspirational families that you could ever wish to meet. And I'm not giving you that information to pave the way for making any excuses whatsoever for the achievement or the progress or the conduct of our students. On the contrary, actually, what's driven me as a school leader and what steered me through the last 27 years, it's often leading in very vibrant, diverse communities where there's a lot of challenge, is the belief that the origin of a child, the background of a child, the postcode in which that child lives, those things should never, ever determine the boundaries for what a young person should achieve. And I know this well myself, because educated in South London as well, I experienced some inequalities that would probably shock a lot of people now. But that didn't stop me, and I was fortunate on the way to meet some teachers who really inspired me. And, you know, I suppose I wouldn't be on this stage if it hadn't been because of them. So a quote from Francis of Assisi, I think, is going to help me explain to you the journey that I've been on at the school I'm currently in, having arrived there in 2012 with the third principal to the school in that calendar year and about 25 to 30 other new members of staff. Start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible. Before you know it, you're doing the impossible. Now, my colleagues know me well for using the rule of three when I'm delivering CPD or leading on an initiative or taking an assembly. So I'm going to apply that rule to the 3 lines of Assisi's quote. What was necessary at Evelyn Grace Academy? A cultural shift in a school already reeling from a lot of change over a short period of time. A cultural shift where we had to get everybody on board. Everybody had to trust that with Team EGA working in the same direction, we could bring about positive change to benefit our children. Getting the staffing right was necessary. Some difficult conversations. Trying to get the right people on the bus in the right seats. But that also meant having to balance those difficult conversations with having the wisdom to actually build capacity and to build confidence. I suppose it's reminiscent of the idea of love the one you're with. And making the teaching and learning the focus was also necessary in that environment, not just to satisfy Ofsted, but actually to break down some of those barriers for some of the most disadvantaged children. And we had to be very practical in our outlook on that. Consistent practice, underpinned by practical guidance, by support, by coaching. What became possible at Evelyn Grace Academy as a result? Well, you might think this is simple, but taking our children out and bringing a range of people from different walks of life to the academy, that became possible. The purpose, to enrich, to widen horizons, and to expose our young people to what their own futures could actually look like. We wanted to expose them to the fact that if they took a full advantage of what was on offer to them, that's the opportunity to get a good set of academic qualifications, great interpersonal skills, great personal qualities, they too could be successful. Winning and inspiring everyone to win, that became possible. Now, you might think that a state-of-the-art school with a 100-metre running track that runs through it might breed natural winners. That really wasn't necessarily the case before 2012. They say success breeds success. So when a team of unlikely students went out and came back with a trophy, that caused a real ripple effect. By the way, that trophy was for a spelling bee. And subsequent wins were around debating, around poetry slams, around STEM maths challenges, and not just sport. And here's the other thing that became possible. We went through 2 full inspections in 18 months. And the first was within 2 weeks of arriving at the school. The second time, when those inspectors walked out of the room, they left myself, the principal, a couple of senior colleagues with our governors. And we wept in front of those governors. And the reason for that was we'd just received a judgment of good in all categories. You know what that takes. So are we making the impossible possible for our young people? Well, increasingly, our young people confidently embrace challenge. They seize opportunities, which puts them well out of their comfort zones. For some, it happens in the classroom. For some, it happens for exams. But it also happens for them on Duke of Edinburgh exhibitions, when they're debating at Eton or Cambridge, when they're horse riding at the Ebony Club, when they're on the ski slopes in Austria, when they're in Madrid, when they're working with mentors from Goldman Sachs or from JP Morgan. We're so proud of our first cohort of A-level students who've achieved results to take 100% of them to university, 77% of them to the first university of their choice or the second university of their choice. And also, there are students who wanted to come with me here today. They wanted to come and explain for you themselves how the school is making a difference to their lives. I've captured them on a little video clip, and I will be around during break time, so do come and have a chat, do come and have a look so that you can see what they say. one quality, just one, that I want to mention, and it's a quality that I've had to draw on time and time again as a leader: resilience. Richly rewarding our job might be, but it's real and it's relentless. And the fragile nature of the community in which we work, coupled with internal, external distractions, measures, monitoring, they consistently test your resilience. They consistently test your commitment, and they challenge the very values that brought you to that role in the first place. Think about the most challenging situations in which you found yourself as a leader. Isn't it the case that you often have to draw on qualities and skills that you didn't know you need and that you didn't know you had? Anyone who's taken an interest in our journey at Evelyn Grace Academy will tell you themselves, we've come a very long way. Parents, students, staff, we very quietly celebrate any achievements. It's a never-ending journey. So my colleagues and I, we're going to continue to strive, and we're going to continue to ask ourselves, what more, what different can we do individually and collectively to set our children on a path to successful futures? Those challenging numbers, they don't faze us. Those distractions, they don't faze us, because we believe that what we do, it's urgent and it's important. And that whole idea of making a difference and saving lives, that's not a cliche. But what we believe is we are equipping our young people to make the impossible possible for themselves in the future. Thank you.